and today I'm going to be reading to you from the Mixed Up Files of Miss Basil E. Frankweiler, written and illustrated by E.L. Konigsberg, and we are reading with permission from the Scholastic Publishing Company. Chapter 6. It was still dark when they awoke the next morning, but it was later than usual. The museum wouldn't open until 1. Claudia was up first. She was getting dressed when Jamie opened his eyes. "You know," he said, "Sunday is still Sunday. It feels like Sunday, even here." Claudia answered, "I noticed that. Do you think we ought to try to go to church when we go out?" Jamie thought a minute before answering. "Well, let's say a prayer in that little room of the Middle Ages, the part with the pretty stained glass window." They dressed and walked to the little chapel and knelt and said the Lord's Prayer. Jamie reminded Claudia to say she was sorry for stealing the newspaper. That made it officially Sunday. "Come on," Claudia said as she was rising. "Let's go see the statue." They walked over to Angel and looked very closely. It was difficult to look for clues, even after all their research. They were accustomed to having all the clues neatly laid out on a diagram placed in front of the exhibit. "I still say it's too bad we can't touch her," Claudia complained. "At least we're living with it. We're the only 2 people in the world who live with it. Miss Frankweiler did too. She could touch and hug it," Jamie teased. "I'll bet she knows for sure if Mike Angelo did it." "Sure she does," Jamie said. He then threw his arms around himself, leaned his head way back, closed his eyes, and murmured, "Every day when she got up, Miss Frankweiler would throw her arms about the statue, peer into its eyes, and say, 'Speak to me, baby.' One morning, the statue and Claudia was furious. The men who moved it last night hugged it when they moved it. There's all kinds of hugging." She refused to look at Jamie again and instead stared at the statue. The sound of footsteps broke her silence and concentration. Footsteps from the Italian Renaissance were descending upon them. The guard was coming down the steps. "Oh, baloney," thought Jamie. There was just too much time before the museum opened on Sundays. They should have been in hiding already. Here they were out in the open with the light on. Jamie grabbed Claudia's hand and pulled her behind the booth where they rent walkie-talkies for a tour of the museum. Even though they were well hidden by the dark as they squatted there, they felt as exposed as the great bear lady in the painting upstairs. The guard stepped in front of Angel. Jamie set another mental telegraph. "Get going, get going, get going." Of course it worked. The guard moved towards the Egyptian wig to cover the rest of his tour. The 2 children wouldn't even allow themselves a sigh of relief. They were that well disciplined. After 10 minutes lag time, Jamie got the hem of Claudia's jacket and they cautiously got up. Jamie led the way back up the great stairway. As he did so, his logic became clear to Claudia. Thank goodness Jamie had thought so clearly, so fast, and thank goodness for those 20 acres of floor space. It would take the watchman more than an hour before he passed that way again. They stealthily climbed the wide stairway, staying close to the rail. Step, pause, step, pause. All the way to the top until they found themselves in front of the pedestal in which Angel had just stood the day before. Claudia paused to look, partly from that habit and partly from anything associated to Angel was precious. Jamie paused to catch his breath. "Why do you think they changed the velvet under her from blue to gold?" Claudia whispered. "The blue probably got dirty. Come on, let's hide." Claudia looked again at the velvet. Light was beginning to seep into the museum. Something on top of the velvet caught her eye. One of the workmen must have been drinking beer when he moved the statue. Most people drink beer, Jamie said. What's so unusual about that? They don't let visitors bring in beer, answered Claudia. Wonder why they allow the workers to do it. What if he had spilled it on Angel? See if where he must have put his beer can on that platform. She pointed to the blue velvet covering the pedestal. See where the rings of the pile of velvet is crushed. Jamie said, yeah, Ballantine beer, those 3 rings. Then he began humming a commercial that he had heard during the baseball game on television last spring. Claudia interrupted. Those are the marks of the beer can itself. After all, the L on the can is flat against the can. It could have been any beer. Schlitz, Rheingold. You're right, Claude. Except for one thing. What's that? She said. The rings of the beer would have crushed the velvet down. The plush of this velvet is crushed up. What kind of a sentence is that? Crushed up? Oh, baloney. You just go ahead and pick on grammar. Go ahead. Pick on my grammar. Alright, so here is the picture. But you can't pick on my logic. The weight of the statue crushed all the velvet down except where the marble was chipped and the plush was crushed up. Claudia, there's also a crushed up W in one of those circles that's also crushed up. For goodness sake, Jamie, that's not a W, it's an M. She looked at Jamie and her eyes widened. M for Michelangelo. Jamie was rubbing his eyes. No, Claude. I saw that symbol yesterday on one of the books I looked at. What was it, Jamie? What was it? How should I know? You were supposed to do the reading. I was just looking for pictures and clues. James Kinded, you are shuffling. You are absolutely shuffling. As if it would hurt to read you one little thing. Just one little thing. Well, Jamie said, we have a clue. We know already. We have an important clue. I'll bet they never even looked at the bottom of the statue. Now we have to go back to the library to find out what the symbol means. But we can't. The library is closed on Sundays. Oh, Jamie, I've got to know. But it's okay. We'll check the museum bookshop. Don't worry, Claude. I'll recognize the book. Right now, we'd better hide. Claudia glanced at her watch. Where are we going to hide up here? There's no furniture. We can't risk going downstairs again. Jamie picked up a corner of the blue velvet drape. Be my guest, he said, indicating the floor under the platform with an elegant sweep of his hand. Jamie and Claudia squatted under the platform. It was close quarters up there. Jamie only needed to point his fingers to poke his sister in the ribs. I say, Lady Claudia, I do believe we're onto something really great. Perhaps, Sir James, perhaps. Claudia didn't think about their close calls. They were unimportant. They wouldn't matter in the end. The end having something to do with Michelangelo, the angel, history, and herself. She thought about the history test she had on Monday at school. There was a question that she couldn't answer. She had studied hard and read the chapter thoroughly. She knew right where the answer was. The second paragraph in the right-hand column of page 157. In her mind, she could actually see what the answer was, but she couldn't think of what it was. Angel was that way. Answer to running away, and also to going home again. An angel. She knew it was there, but she just didn't know what it was. It was just escaping the answer to the question on the test had. Except this was even harder, because she wasn't exactly certain of the question she was trying to answer. Except this was even harder she wasn't exactly certain of the question she was trying to answer. The question had something to do with why Angel had become more important than having run away or being safe, even at the museum. Oh, she was right back where she started. It was too stuffy to think under that velvet. How could anyone think straight? She knew one thing for sure. Maybe they had a clue. A crowd formed in front of the museum before it opened. The guard who was to have removed the pedestal and drape was called outside to set up sawhorses, make orderly rows out of the mass of people. The museum couldn't spare up Morris until all the police had sent help for the sidewalk traffic. When he finally moved the platform and Drake and took them to the basement for storage, Claudia and Jamie had already left and were browsing around the crowded bookshop under the dust jackets of books about Michelangelo. They found the book with the mark on the cover. The crushed-up mark on the dark blue velvet was Michelangelo's stonemason's mark. He had chipped it into the base of the marble to identify himself as the owner, much as breads are burned into the hides of cattle to identify theirs. They emerged from the bookshop looking triumphant and hungry. Come on, Claudia shouted as soon as they got out. Let's grab a taxi to the automat. We'll walk, Jamie said. We have income now. All we have to take is take a bath whenever we need money. Jamie thought a second. Okay, I'll allow buts. Claudia smiled. Thank you, Mr. Pinchpenny. You call me Pinchpenny, and I'll call me a taxi, she laughed, running to the bus stop in front of the museum. Jamie was feeling so satisfied that he gave Claudia 75 cents for breakfast. He allowed himself the same. As they ate, he discussed what they should do about the awesome information they had. Let's call the New York Times, Jamie suggested. All that publicity. They'll want to know how we found out. Let's call the head of the Metropolitan. He'll want to know what we found out. We'll tell him. Jamie said. Are you out of your mind? Claudia asked. Tell him we've been living here? Don't you think we ought to tell that museum about the crushed-up mark on the velvet? We owe it to them. Jamie answered. We've been their guests all this time. And you figure out how you can let them know without being caught. I'll bet you have it all worked out. As a matter of fact, I do. Claudia leaned against the table and spoke to Jamie in her best secret agent voice fashion. We'll write them a letter and tell them to look at the base of the statue for an important clue. What if they can't figure out what the clue is? We'll help then with that if they need help. We'll reveal ourselves then, and they'll be very happy that they're their hosts. Claudia said. She paused long enough for Jamie to get impatient. But just begin. Here's the plan. We rent a post office. We rent a post office box in Grand Central. Like when you send in box tops, you always send in to P.O. box number so and so and so. We write a letter and tell them to answer us at the box number. As they tell us they need help, we reveal ourselves as heroes. Can't we go home and wait? That was the last row of night and this morning. Besides, we'll be heroes twice. once we return home, and once we reveal ourselves. No! Claudia screeched. We have to know about Angel first. We have to be right. Wow, what's the matter with you, Claude? You always, you know what you planned on going home sometimes. Yes, she answered. Sometime, but not just any time. Her voice was becoming high-pitched again. Anytime we come home from a visit to Grandpa's or from summer camp, they're always glad to see us. But it never makes any difference. Going home without Angel for sure will be the same as going home from camp. It won't be any different. After one day, maybe two, we'll be back to the same old thing. And I didn't run away to come home the same. Well, this has been much more fun than camp. Even the food's been better. That's the difference. But Jamie, it's not enough. I know it's not enough. I'm hungry most of the time. I mean, the difference isn't enough. Like being born with a perfect pitch, being born very ordinary, and then winning the Congressional Medal of Honor, getting an Academy Award. Those are differences that last a lifetime. Finding out about Angel will be that kind of difference. I think you're different already, Claude. Do you? She asked. She was smiling and her eyes were modestly lowered, ready for a compliment. Yes, we're all sane and you're insane. Jamie Candid. Okay, I'm insane too. I'll go along with you. Besides, some of the complications are getting interesting, even though some of them are dull. How will you disguise your handwriting? No need to do that. I'll use a typewriter. Claudia waited for Jamie's look of surprise. She got it. Where are you going to get a typewriter? In front of the Olivetti place on 5th Avenue. We passed it twice yesterday, when you made us walk from the laundromat, and again when we walked from library to library. It's bolted to a stand outside the building for everyone to use. You know, a sort of a sample for their product. It's free. Jamie smiled. It's a good thing that I'm insane about walking. Otherwise, you never would have found that typewriter. And it's a good thing that I'm a good observer, Claudia added. They marched up 5th Avenue and were delighted to find a piece of paper already in the typewriter. Across the top of the page, someone had typed, "Now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their party." Claudia didn't know that this sentence was a common one used in practice typing. She thought it seemed appropriate to the message and would add a proper note of mystery besides. Here, Saxonburg is a copy of the letter Claudia typed. You could see that her typing needed a great deal of improvement. So, here is... Now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their party. Dear museum head, we think you should examine the bottom of the statue for an important clue. The statue we mean is the one you bought for $225, and the clue is that you will find Michelangelo's stonemason's mark on the bottom. If you need help about this clue, you may write to us at the Grand Central Post Office, Box 847 in Manhattan. Sincerely, Friends of the Museum. Pleased with their effort, they felt like they could take the rest of the day off. They wandered around at Rockefeller Center and watched the skaters for a short while. They watched the crowd watching the skaters for a while longer. When they returned to the museum, filled with satisfaction and snacks for their supper, they saw a long line of Sunday people waiting to climb the museum steps. steps. Knowing that everyone would be shepherded in and out, in front of the statue and past the statue in a matter of minutes, they decided to enter through the rear different entrance instead. Guard at that door said that they would have to use Fifth Avenue entrance if they wished to see Angel. Oh, we've already seen that, Jamie said. The guard from friendliness, helpfulness, or perhaps sheer loneliness, for very few people had entered through his door that day. Asked Jamie what he thought of it. Well, we need to do more research, but it seems to me that Claudia pulled Jamie's arm. Come on, Albert, she urged. On their way to the rooms containing Greek faces, they again observed the enormous crowd passing by the statue. As I was about to tell that guard, it seems to me that they should try and get to the bottom of the mystery. Claudia giggled. Jamie joined in. They spent exactly enough time among the vases of ancient Greece to be able to man their waiting stations and not be discovered. All right, that's the end of chapter 6. So see you next time, and